Welcome to Sticker Wars. This week's episode is the deep lore behind StickerGate. Oh my God, you guys, it is like the layers of an onion. The more we peel back, the more that there is to peel back. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, grab your wine, and as always, I will come in piping hot with all of the tea on the madcapped multi-billion-dollar world of stickers. Did I say billion? Yeah, yes, yeah, I really did. $42 billion is my assessment of annual sticker sales in the United States. It is a humongous industry. Walk into any grocery store and see how many products have stickers on the front and the back. Look at all the bumpers, all the water bottles, all the backs of the cars. Look at our good friend Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. What is the one and only thing that he ever put in extra into his Apple products? A sticker. It is the best and least expensive branding that most companies can get, and they are ubiquitously everywhere. If you just put a little note in the back of your mind to start to track how many times you see stickers in a day, you are going to be shocked. You're going to be shook. There's going to be one on every single electrical appliance or two warning against different types of voltage outlets. They're just ubiquitously everywhere. And like most industries, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Everybody knows that insurance companies, multi-billion dollar, car companies, multi-billion dollars. But a lot of people don't necessarily think that dentists' offices are a multi-billion dollar industry. Veterinarians is a multi-billion dollar industry. Shoes, everywhere you go, every industry that you look at that people use a lot is a multi-billion dollar space. And stickers are no different than that. And in this huge space, this huge competitor of ours at Sticker Mule, their CEO, Anthony Constantino, came out hyper political. And he didn't just come out personally, privately political. He released an email encouraging people to show their support for Donald Trump. Yeah, he did. Encouraging them to not be afraid to say that they love Donald Trump. Since then, he has released a whole lot of additional content. Longtime listeners of the show could recite this right along with me. But the way that they tried to make this better was that they came out with a commercial campaign where they did 4 polished, professional looking reels promoting bringing back the word retard. Yeah, how did that just sound? Coming out of my mouth. Not good. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. Then they started posting all these tweets using the R word all over their corporate social media and Twitter. They also put all sorts of things encouraging people to vote for Trump all over their corporate social media, especially their Twitter, but on all of their social media accounts. Since then, a lot of that content has been stripped out. Don't worry, we grabbed screenshots. They declared we won when Trump got in office. And so very understandably, a whole lot of corporations did not want to be tied with the R word pass guy, right? They're like, whoa, that is really offensive. Let's not. Then Sticker Mule came out with a sexual harassment ad where in the corporate headquarters of Sticker Mule, there was a naked guy showing off a back tattoo to a young woman who is just happily, voluntarily on her knees looking at this tattoo on this dude's lower back. And he swings around and his junk is in her face in the corporate Sticker Mule offices. Okay, that choices were made. And I'm not saying that I don't even understand what they were going for in that. I'm saying I don't think it's funny. A whole lot of corporations, similarly, did not think it was funny. And then Sticker Mule put a 100-foot long, I don't know how tall, and I don't know at what expense, it looks expensive to me, Vote for Trump sign, which is still a light up sign on their corporate headquarters. The CEO of Sticker Mule, Anthony Constantino, also came out with an album. That's right, a studio album. You can go listen to the whole thing on Spotify. It is called Thank You, President Trump. This dude loves Donald Trump. Anthony Constantino, the co-founder and CEO of Sticker Mule, is also now running for Congress. I'm not making this up. I'm really not. He's consistently posting pictures of himself with Roger Stone. Roger Stone is helping him in some way with his campaign. And Anthony Constantino recently came out with a social media post where he talked about how he was very smart, and using his smarts, he built Mule, which I am not taking anything away from that accomplishment. That is a 1,000-person company. Literally good for him. That is amazing. That is an amazing thing to have done. And as I covered on a previous podcast, he did a reel where he's like, I'm really smart and I built this company and it made me a lot of money and I am now giving back through politics. And his version of giving back with the money that he himself stated, I made this money through Mule, is to put $5 million into his own campaign so that he can run for Congress. And he is hoping to win the primary in his district. His advisor on there, who he's sharing pictures of himself with all the time, is Roger Stone. Obviously has been in politics for a long, long time. And in his run for politics, he has been posting anti-trans posts and anti-trans reels. He has recently worn a t-shirt that says "Stop Trans Propaganda." It turns out when we went to the Sticker Mule website that they sell a "Stop Trans Propaganda" t-shirt on their corporate website, and that t-shirt was in fact designed by Anthony Constantino himself, the founder and CEO of Sticker Mule. In addition to that, he did give a $300,000 statue of Donald Trump to Donald Trump. And you guys, that was covered on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Okay, so now we're all up to speed, and I know a lot of longtime listeners already knew all those details. But the story does get wilder because guess what? I didn't just start StickerJunkie. I started 14 companies. That's right, I did. And then I woke up very suddenly, $1.84 million in debt. All true facts. I went back into the company to save the company. And when I came back into StickerJunkie, I had a goal. And that goal was to regrow and rebuild all 14 of the companies that I had ever started, 2 at a time, Eras tour style, right? Like you guys, I woke up and my whole life had collapsed and fallen apart. And I was like, don't just pick yourself back up, girl. Pick yourself back up and go live the biggest life you can live. Next Friday, I turned 52 years old. And I was sort of thinking, you don't have that much time left here on earth. And I had always been exceedingly quiet and exceedingly private. And just off of social media in general, I just didn't really interact there. So about 2 years ago, when I came back into this company, I was like, all right, I'm going to set a goal to 5x the sales in my companies annually. Now, originally coming back into StickerJunkie, I thought I was going to build it and sell it. That is what I thought I was going to do with StickerJunkie, right up until I saw how people are being treated in the workplace these days. I really didn't know. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've worked for myself since I was 17 years old. And so I sort of didn't realize how far things have fallen in the United States. I didn't realize how very, very expensive everything had gotten. I didn't realize that the price of everything dramatically increased, especially over the last 20 years. And I already sort of had my finances figured out by that point. So I wouldn't really have had any way to notice when I went to the grocery store. I wasn't paying attention to how much things cost. And let's fucking face it, I'm a bougie chick and I have expensive taste. So I'm always buying the $10 condiment. So when I get to the cash register and it costs me $350, I am unsurprised. I like really good wine. That shit's expensive. So I sort of just didn't realize how bad base costs of living had gotten for everyone, and also how punitive incredibly normal things had gotten. Picking up your kid from school when your kid is sick. I was like, yo, I'm a child of the 80s. Guess what? When your kid is sick, you gotta go get him. I didn't understand the dramatic rise in cost of everything, while minimum wage has not increased in 16 years and it already was not enough then. I didn't realize that nobody could afford to live on basically anything below, I'm going to say 75 grand a year would be a real minimum salary. You're going to need a partner. You're going to need a roommate in order to be able to afford to live. And I am saying you're struggling at $75,000 a year. If you would like a breakdown of that, go check out episode 48 and also type in StickerJunkie.com/living wage. We are incredibly passionate about getting all of our people up to a living wage at StickerJunkie. That is my new mission. So my new mission now is for at least the next 3 years to 5x our sales. So this year we're going from 2 million to 10 million in revenue. Next year in 2027, from 10 million to 50 million in revenue, and in 2028 from 50 million to 250 million in revenue. Last week on the pod, I said, I think that what's happening right here with StickerWars is going to be a case study at Harvard Business School. And I am not just saying that I think that that's what's going to happen. I am saying, come watch me do it. Come watch me do it. And week on week, I will share with you guys how we are doing this year. And every month, I will do a financial rundown. And once a quarter, I will do a full fiscal rundown of how we are doing, how things are coming along with our growth targets. And so we're either going to hit them or we're not. And you're going to be able to watch along and see what happens. But before I go any further into the wildness of what's happening on StickerGate right now, let me give you a little bit more full background of me. I have started 14 companies. I've started StickerJunkie, Yoga Junkie. I started Delinquent Distribution. Now, Delinquent Distribution, that's the sexy one. Yeah, it is. That's the one that everybody's like, oh shit, you fucking are for real. You're like a for real legit entrepreneur. I'm like, Delinquent Distribution not only sold a lot of merchandise to stores in the early 2000s, at one point in time, with all of those like black and white word t-shirts that are on the walls at Hot Topic, I had 40% of the shelf space because I am, in fact, a professional slogan writer. And so I created all of these different t-shirts like, I'm bad with names, can I just call you dumbass? Losing faith in humanity, one person at a time. Don't hold strong opinions about things you don't understand, and several offensive ones as well. So all of a sudden, I had all of this shelf space at Hot Topic, and I owned a distribution company, and I ended up getting the exclusive sales rights to chain stores on all of the merchandise for Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, The Walking Dead, and on and on and on and on. And I sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of merchandise. I have sold $447 million worth of merchandise so far. I also then recruited an incredibly amazing team into StickerJunkie to help facilitate our goals. But further in my background, because I do not want to get off in the weeds, I have also started 2 tech companies. I started Zoco Inc., which did subscription-based websites for best-selling spiritual authors, and I started Mentor Mojo, which has a tragic, devastating story that goes along with it. My CTO in that company actually was murdered, and we no longer even own the domain on that company because this was in 2014. So much of the technology was locked up specifically with him, with his passwords, with his codes, with everything that was his. And we were unable to retrieve a lot of stuff. That part is not funny. Rest in peace, obviously. But what happened next? Kind of funny. So somehow the domain itself, mentormojo.com, ended up in the hands of a porn company. Oh, I'm not kidding. So like when you land on that website, it looks right. It looks like this professional, like you're going to get business advice. And then at the bottom, there's just one link to like pornography discounts. And then it goes just straight into porn sites. That's obviously not ours. That's not mine. I don't have anything to do with that company. But my background is varied and apparently interesting enough for people to listen to my podcast. But in addition to that, while this dude is crashing out over his love for Donald Trump, I was a contestant on The Apprentice. That's right. I know Donald Trump. I know him personally. Longtime listeners of the pod know that I did not vote for him. However, I do not want to hyper over politicize any of my companies. And I also do not want personally to stay quiet about what is going on right now. Because in addition to my business background, I made my first $1 million when I was 23 years old selling fuck you t-shirts. I did. I really did, with a company called Anti-Establishment Clothing. So what did that mean? That meant that I had a lot of money and a lot of time, and I could do whatever I wanted with my time because I had a lot of money. And I always was a little bit insecure because I didn't go to college. Longtime listeners of the show understand this is going to be a little bit of a recap about me and about StickerGate. So I read thousands of books, like everything by Jared Diamond, everything by Howard Zinn and Jonathan Kozol and Noam Chomsky, but also everything about authors that had incredibly opposite perspectives about that. Everything that I could find out about geopolitics, about global economics, about the way that the world works. In 2005, I was invited to become a member of the Global Economic Institute, also known as the Milken Institute, and have been studying geopolitics and economics for the last 27 years. Very weekly reader of The Economist. And in addition to all of that, I'm also in many other groups. I'm in Summit Series. I'm an ambassador for TED. I am all over the place in a lot of very powerful business groups. So we already plan to expand into more. So there are tons of different expansion routes that we're going to run down in the next couple of years with StickerJunkie, and we're taking you guys along with this ride. We are splitting out, however, the podcast so that I can talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. And Sticker Wars can exist as something that StickerJunkie produces. And I am very, very excited. And Sticker Wars can exist as something that focuses solely on the world of stickers. I think the craziest part of this StickerGate having happened is that I'm me. And I was just sitting here coming back in, just baby barely coming back in to my sticker company. And I was a contestant on The Apprentice. So I know Donald Trump personally quite well at one point in time. No further comment. There's a reason that my book is called You're Gonna Think I'm a Pathological Liar. The reason I'm doing such a recap is that we are breaking this out into a Sticker Wars episode. It's been a tough week for America. I'm not even going to get into that right now. We all know. And so with my background in geopolitics and global economics, I'm going to start to do a whole bunch of content that doesn't have anything to do with StickerJunkie or Sticker Wars. And I think that the biggest mistake that's been made by Sticker Mule is that they're doing this with corporate dollars. Every corporation that I have talked to, and what created StickerGate was the fact that people just wanted to buy stickers. They weren't asking anybody's political opinion. They weren't asking for any information from that CEO. And all of a sudden, that CEO is pushing his own political agenda on his audience, on their actual, literal corporate social media. However, now that he's stripped out the profoundly offensive comments that he was making about Kamala Harris from his corporate social media, now that he has deleted those off of the Sticker Mule corporate social media. So interestingly, when I'm talking to corporations, for most corporations, they're like, whoa, we're not choosing sides. Like they have thousands, in some case, hundreds of thousands of employees that they need to think about. And so they're like, look, everyone just gets to have whatever politics they have. And if he's particularly loud about it, then he's particularly loud about it. The thing that the corporations had a problem with were like, wait, what? I'm sorry. Did you just say a retard pass? And I was like, oh, yeah, I sure did. That's what they're doing over there. Here's a link to their own commercial. Go watch it for yourself. Here's a link to a commercial where a young woman is on her knees and a guy is putting his dick in her face. Go watch it yourself. That's what they're spending their corporate media dollars on. And most corporations are like, whoa, what? And now with content that is targeting just the most marginalized communities already, actually selling anti-trans rhetoric on their website, I'm like, wow, choices were made. And so very luckily for me, across the last year, StickerGate has happened. And there's a whole lot of people that are like, yo, I don't want to buy stickers from that dude who is talking about how all the money that he made in his sticker company is now being given back through hyper conservative MAGA politics. And I'm like, cool, you can absolutely shop with companies whose ethics align with yours. We don't choose a political party. At StickerJunkie, we don't. But we do choose standing with our allies in the LGBTQ community. We do choose standing up with women. We do choose to be a company of diversity and inclusion. We have fantastic people, and we choose them because they are fantastic people. They're incredibly hardworking. And we set up our staff truly like an Olympic team. And we understand in StickerJunkie something that we think that a whole lot of people have lost the thread on just in business in general these days, which is that it takes a whole team to make a team. And also, if we can dive just a second into the economics of business. So if I can dive just for a second into the economics of business, which I know a whole lot of you like when I do, let me be really, really, really clear. I believe the very most valuable thing that you can do to increase the revenue in your company is to get everybody on a really, really, really good wage with really good benefits and treat them like they have a life and like you respect the fact that they have a life. So we really work with people for what's going to make them happy long term. And our intention is to have every single person in our offices at $32 an hour. Now we need to make at least $7 million to get everyone having health insurance, supplemental paid maternity and paternity leave because the state covers some of it. And then most employers don't fill in the gap. So all of a sudden, when people are at home with kids, they're getting like only 50 or 60% of their normal paycheck. I believe that varies by state. And a lot of employers, maybe they don't have the revenue, or maybe they just don't understand how very problematic that is when someone's at home with a new baby to all of a sudden have a whole bunch of additional financial stress on top of it when already people are not being paid a living wage. That's a problem, yo. We need to solve that. All of us. We are the grown-ups in the room now. But spoiler alert, if you're one of the companies that enlists everyone in your staff into a vision and says, hey, look, we're putting this bell, this nautical bell up on the StickerJunkie office walls, and David is creating this sailor that's going to like lean against the bell. That bell only gets rung when we get something as a team. As we give raises as a team until everybody is above a living wage. When we give bonuses, we will always give bonuses as a team. Because even if Emily does something super brilliant, which by the fucking way she did, because she builds our tech integrations, it's not just her. Every person in design helped to make this dream into a reality. Every member of the team creates a team. So when we bonus the whole team. Because nothing happens without everything happening. If I go and do all the marketing and get tons of orders and I'm a fucking banger salesperson because I am a banger salesperson and I go get a bunch of sales and then production isn't high and tight and doesn't get those stickers out on time, unhappy customers. If design isn't high and tight and our proofs aren't going out on time, unhappy customers. If somebody gets stickers and the color matches off, and they reach out to us and they don't get a response from customer service that says, oh, hey, sorry about that. Can you send the pictures of what you got as well as what your other coloration should be? And we will just reprint them and we'll match it to that. No worries. So if customer service isn't properly chained, problems. But when you bring people in to a job that usually feels disposable in other industries, right? Like answering emails, a lot of people have outsourced this to AI. Yo, we never outsource our customer service or our art to AI. Never, ever. We really allow people's creativity to flourish. We talk to them a lot. We ask them what area of the company that they want to expand into. And every person on my team understands, like, hey, when we hit these numbers in January and February, you're going to get a raise at the end of February. We do have to hit the numbers, but we're looking good for it. They understand that after the raises comes healthcare, that after the healthcare comes paid time off. And I don't want my people to be scraping by. I don't want employees that can't comfortably shop at my company. I want employees that are so happy and so well paid and they can think about saving up, buying a house, getting married, having a baby, doing all the things that people do. The work does not need to be the primary focus of your life because guess what happens when you treat employees like that? Like they are grown, sentient adults that can make their own decision as to whether or not they come to work that day. Obviously, we have to put guardrails on it. We would talk to somebody if they were taking too many days off. It is disruptive with us being a small company, but how do we handle that when we're a medium-sized company? We overbook every shift. You just overbook your production shift by one person or two people. You overbook your design shift by one person or two people, etc. And then you train some of the designers to be able to jump into customer service if someone's out. And as the company expands, those numbers change. And it means you spend more on payroll. How do we compensate for that? We do it this way. I have never been a CEO that wants to get paid 471 times my lowest paid employee. So we have a margin at StickerJunkie that is 7x up. So I will never get paid more on base salary than 7x up of the lowest paid employee. And so what that means is once we get everybody to a base salary of 80 grand a year, the highest paid person never gets more than 560. Well, what happens if the highest paid person is like, nah, I want to make like 700 grand a year? We would say, great. Then our lowest paid employee who's been here for a year or longer is going to make $100,000 a year. That sounds great. When I ran all my cost assessments of like, what is it like for me just to feel comfortable with cash? It's $140,000 a year for me to just like not be thinking too hard about cash. And it's 212 for me to have no concerns about cash. If there's a trip, I'm going to take it, etc. When I started to think about that and I started to think about money more deeply, I was like, I want everybody on my staff to experience the type of freedom that I experience. Everybody should be winning when we win. So we will bonus out to our people. We will not reduce our payroll down. And as a result, people love coming to work. They love their jobs. They do the most that they can. They're like, oh my God, I want to learn that over there. We have Kiana in production right now. She's like, I absolutely want to learn about sales. I absolutely want to learn about customer service. And so she is going to be transitioned over into the customer service department to start. We listen to what people have to say. We also look at where their skill sets actually lie. And if somebody is in the wrong department, we work with them to get into the right department because we have fantastic people. And as a result, what happens? And this is what I would love for other businesses to understand. You have a bunch of passionate people. Well, guess what that means? You have a bunch of really, 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 really satisfied, really, 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 really happy customers. And when that happens, they're repeat customers, they're return customers. They love working with us as much as we love having them as a client. And when we have all of these real people in the company, making the company fucking awesome, the company makes way more money. It's not just only putting more money into people's pockets, which absolutely has to happen at virtually every company across the country. It's enlisting people into a common vision and showing them how they themselves will win as the company wins. I was talking to somebody that works for a multi-billion-dollar company recently, and she had sold $1 billion worth of products for this company over her career with this company, $1 billion worth of products. And in the way that her position was, she did not see barely any increase from that. And I was like, what? What do you mean? In our company, as we increase our sales, every single person in the company wins and that they know that they're going to win. We are hemorrhaging cash. I am living off credit cards and debt, and I still gave cash bonuses to my employees this December, and it hurt me financially to do it. And when I was talking to my employees, so many of them were like, oh my God, I haven't gotten a cash bonus in however long. And I'm like, people don't give cash bonuses at holiday anymore. And they're like, no. And one of my employees was like, oh, my husband got like donuts. Like a donut party was his bonus this year, the holiday bonus for their team. And I was like, what? What? Wow. Let's make that industry standard again. Let's make paying people a living wage and really, really caring about people living a fantastic life a thing again. And as a result, we have people who want to make the company grow and want to make the company prosper. They see their future there. When you take somebody into a position that is usually disposable, like customer service, usually people don't pay a lot of attention to those types of positions. And you say, we want you to build your career here in our customer service department. If you would like to advance to a different department, we'll work with you on that. We want every single person, whether they are shipping boxes or doing proofs, to build their career with StickerJunkie. And that type of a vibe makes it almost guaranteed that this company is going to succeed. And I'm not talking about sticker companies here. I'm talking about most other companies that I have been on the inside of. I don't see that being prioritized. And the companies that I do see that have that type of ethics, I'm just like, that's banger. You're going to go. You're going to win. You're going to win. So StickerJunkie, over the course of the next year, you're going to see us win. I'm going to keep you up to pace with what we're doing. I'm going to keep posting you on it over on the StickerWars podcast, which is going to break out in the next couple weeks. I just got the first artwork renditions of potential covers. We're not quite there yet. Hopefully we'll have a cover finalized for StickerWars next week. But this has been a recap episode basically of like what StickerGate is, who I am. Did I miss anything? Oh yeah, every word out of my mouth sounds like I'm a pathological liar. So for anybody that this was your first episode, I also was a professional fire dancer. I really was. My biggest show was with Jane's Addiction. I also have driven every freeway in the country and 70% of the scenic highways that have over 1 million miles driven. I have over 1 million miles driven because my mentor told me to do that. I also am a quant trader. I wrote a trading system based on quantitative mathematics because one of my mentors is one of the best traders in the world. He's a very private guy. I never say who he is. The other one, who barely mentored me, right? I tell the whole story in, I think, the second episode of my Andrea Lake 101 podcast. I only talked to like 4 times, but fucking, of course, I claim him as a mentor because I got to talk to him for like 4 hours when I was a kid. Is Jim Rogers. He wrote a book called The Adventure Capitalist, and he did 2 road trips and drove around the world twice from the ground. Why did he do that? Well, he did love adventure and he did love road trips. That is why he did it. And the advantage, though, that it gave him was that he could see from the ground the trends that were most likely to happen next. And he was George Soros's trading partner at the Quantum Fund. How the fuck did I get to talk to that dude? Good question. I made him custom stickers after I read his book, Adventure Capitalist, that said, by the way, I drove around the world, ... twice. And this would have been like in maybe 2002. And nobody was reaching out to people sort of that way. And I mailed the stickers to his office address that I knew that he would be receiving them at, and wrote a really nice note of like, hey, this is what I do. I have this other mentor who also is a trader. I'm learning business basically from the ground. I didn't go to college. Any advice that you could give me would really help me along my way. And I had already read dozens and dozens of books about geopolitics and global economics and trading and economic systems and the ways that economies of the world work. And on a phone call with Jim, it might have been my first phone call I ever had with him. And again, I only had 4 calls with him. On the call, though, I expressed like, hey, I'm having this issue in my company right now because I was selling so many shirts to Hot Topic, and now it's sort of fallen off. Now, like the last 3 or 4 designs that they've tried, they just haven't sold, and all future reorders are based on whether or not something sells. With any type of chain store, that's how it works. Because, all buyers at all stores, they want the merchandise and the product in their section to sell really well. So I was a little afraid of selling new designs and then the new designs also not selling, because it kind of would put me in a little bit of a timeout where they might not buy from me very much. This is when I was selling t-shirts for delinquent distribution with the sayings on them to like Mr. Rags, Miller's Outpost, Hasting Entertainment, Tower Records, Hot Topic, Spencer's Gifts, just like all the mall stores in the early 2000s. And I said, ooh, I really quickly need to understand what people are actually going to buy. And Jim said, get in your car, start taking road trips, go across the country, look at what the kids on the coasts are wearing, look at what the kids in the middle of the country are wearing. How did I increase my sales and choose all bangers? Right after he told me to do that, I got in my car and I started crisscrossing the country. And then I went a step further, which I got to tell him about on the next phone call. And I printed out all of these different sticker packs of like 15 different designs or 25 different designs. I literally forget what it was. And I would stop along the way at like food places just to eat. And I'm vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian since I was a teenager. And I would go into like Arby's because they had these market fresh sandwiches, or whatever place I was getting some vegetarian meal at. And if it was really slow, which it was very often because I would eat at weird hours, I would show the teenage kids that were working at a fast food joint all of these different stickers. And inevitably, any other teenage kids that were around would come over and look at these stickers because they're cool black, white, and red stickers like that you would see in Hot Topic. And I would say, hey, I will give you 3 stickers right now if you choose which 3 you want from like the 20 that I would put in front of them. And then they would choose the 3 stickers that they want, and they would take their time. They truly only thought they were getting 3 stickers. And so they would take their time and really carefully choose which ones they actually wanted. So I was like, okay, cool, amazing. And then I would give them the whole sample pack with every single sticker, and they were fucking delighted. I would be like, oh, okay, I actually didn't think that this one particular design would be something anybody would want. I just didn't think it would sell well. There was one that said like, I like poetry, long walks on a beach, and poking dead things with a stick. I did not necessarily think that was going to be a banger, bang it out of the park shirt, but like every kid chose that one. And sure enough, I sold it to Hot Topic, and it was one of their best selling shirts for that year. So what do I know, right? And that's why I asked the kids. And then I could start to visually see, as I was driving, trends pushing inwards from the coast, and then the kids in the center of the country doing something super cool with that style and pushing it back outwards to the coasts. So for a long time while I was doing those road trips in the early 2000s, this is way before you could just go and see stuff online. The internet was not functioning in the way that it's functioning now. I had on the ground, boots on the ground visuals of what kids would actually choose when they felt like they had a finite number of choices that they could make, in the same way that when they're in the store, even if they like 20 shirts, they're only actually going to be able to buy 2 or 3 of them. And so anyhow, I think that I've caught most of the highlight reels of the things that just make me sound like a pathological liar when I'm telling stories. Oh, right. And I also started the Winston House in Venice Beach. I sure did, with a group of friends, and it started out as a tech hub entrepreneur house, and it ended up becoming a music house where Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, Ed Sheeran, Hozier, the Chainsmokers played in my living room. No lies are being told. I started this tech hub music house in LA and many other companies. And so I feel like all of this culmination point has come around to make me not only reintegrated into my companies, but all of a sudden, it's like this path is unfolding before me. So much so that I really do wonder, am I the next contestant in jury duty and everybody else is just actors? At some point, I'm crazy if I don't ask that question, because how is my biggest competitor out of nowhere? Nobody was saying anything. And then he came out as hyper political. I was already trying really hard to grow my sticker company, and it was starting to grow, it was starting to catch strides. But then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people are like actively looking for a new sticker vendor. So during the OG StickerGate, I had an article written about me in Forbes and was the early person who deemed it, who named it StickerGate, who trademarked StickerGate, who trademarked I Survived StickerGate, who trademarked StickerWars, and was like, I already was planning on making TV shows around the madcapped multi-billion-dollar world of stickers before StickerGate happened. So when this dropped at my pretty little feet, I was perfectly well positioned to take advantage of it. And then over the last year, it has been so busy buying new equipment, training people, getting people up to speed, getting the banger team that I have, getting all of the policies in place that we have, getting all of our legal compliance in place. And now as we're getting to grow and pace and scale again, the madcapped multi-billion-dollar world of stickers has not gone anywhere. So we're going to start covering it in full, covering it for you, telling you what's going on in the madcapped multi-billion-dollar world of stickers and growing this company. A whole lot of people are buying stickers right now from private equity companies like Sticker Giant, which is owned by a multi-billion-dollar private equity company, or Sticker App, also owned by a multi-billion-dollar private equity company. And we just keep pace with all of the happenings on the sticker world. So be on the lookout for the release of Sticker Wars podcast, and hit that like, hit that subscribe button on Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire, if you want to hear my overview of what's going on with all of my companies and my perspective of what's happening right now in the world. I will boil it down where I'm mostly covering business and economics, but politics plays into business and economics, and politics plays into the economics of every single billion-dollar industry. So I will cover it all on the Andrea Lake 101 podcast, and specifically for stickers on Sticker Wars. So that's it for me. In the meantime, grab your popcorn, grab your wine, and tuck in tight for next week's episode of Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire, where I will come in piping hot with all of the tea.